Calling this wooden dummy a wooden is an understatement. No one can destroy it in under 10 strikes because in this game, real-world physique and abilities directly affect in-game characters. Millions of players have tried their best, and even elite national athletes have failed this challenge. Now everyone believes it is nearly impossible to complete. Still, many players continue to try because the reward is a 50 million won exclusive game capsule along with 5 points added to all ability stats. Just then the final challenger steps forward from the crowd, the so-called strongest man alive on Earth, a figure who looks more like a monster than a human. Rumor has it he can kill a black bear with his bare hands. He gathers all his strength and throws a powerful punch at the dummy. The dummy is knocked back yet remains completely unharmed. Even the game developers secretly hope he succeeds because if he fails, it could lead to massive dissatisfaction and a flood of negative feedback. Unfortunately, even this giant of a man fails to break the dummy and can only scream in frustration. Then suddenly a random man steps forward from the crowd. He looks completely ordinary, so plain that no one believes he has any chance, especially with the cheap-looking sword in his hand. Yet in a single motion he slices the wooden dummy clean in half, instantly completing the challenge. Even the developers are left in shock, but soon they notice something unusual. The sword he used is not ordinary at all. It is an epic-grade weapon known as Radiant Light, something that should be impossible to obtain in the beginner area. This raises one question: who is he and how did he get that sword? His name is Hyun-soo, the best blacksmith in the world, and the creator of that very weapon. 1 month earlier, Hyun-soo visits his friend Kim Ji-hoon at a Seoul hospital lobby, the same place where his father has remained in a coma for years. Kim Ji-hoon finds it ridiculous that people still cling to the hope of breaking the wooden dummy. He understands that raw strength alone will never be enough. Suddenly, Hyun-soo arrives, clearly annoyed after being called during the day. Kim Ji-hoon explains that he could not meet in the evening because of work. Getting straight to the point, Hyun-soo asks what he wants. Kim Ji-hoon jokes about Hyun-soo's heavy clothing, asking if he is not overheating. Our protagonist snaps back with a threat, forcing an instant apology. Without wasting time, Kim Ji-hoon asks if Hyun-soo knows about the game Aries. He explains that it is the most popular game of the era, powered by advanced AI. He brings up a special beginner event that no one has managed to complete. The reward is a VVIP gaming capsule worth 50 million won. Hyun-soo questions the point since countless people have already failed and admits he does not even play games. Kim Ji-hoon agrees that it is difficult but insists it is not impossible. He firmly believes that when it comes to breaking the wooden dummy, Hyun-soo is the only one capable of doing it. Leading him to another room, Kim Ji-hoon reveals several gaming capsules. He proudly announces that he bought a standard Aries capsule worth 10 million won specifically for him. Hyun-soo is shocked by the cost, nearly losing his composure. His friend argues that it is a worthy investment, explaining that players can earn rewards and exchange them for real money. Kim Ji-hoon urges him to enter the game and give it a try. Hyun-soo immediately asks where he got the money, but the question is brushed aside as his friend focuses on potential profit. Skeptical Hyun-soo questions whether there is any guarantee of success and calls the idea insane. Kim Ji-hoon stands firm, insisting that Hyun-soo truly has a chance. Demanding an explanation, Hyun-soo asks where this confidence comes from. That is when Kim Ji-hoon reveals the truth. The blacksmith class exists inside Aries. He points out Hyun-soo's true identity as the heir of a world-renowned master craftsman. He believes the wooden dummy stands no chance against his skills. At that moment, Hyun-soo reveals the scar left by his past accident. He tells his friend that he has not been the same since that day. Memories of the fire begin to resurface. The tragedy took everything from him. He barely survived while his father never woke up. The overwhelming medical bills crushed their family, leaving him no choice but to work manual labor for years. Following his father's path for 10 long years, Hyun-soo eventually had to give it up. He confesses that his right arm has been useless ever since the accident. Even basic labor is difficult, let alone blacksmithing. He insists that he will handle his own problems and demands the return of the capsule. Calling his friend a fool for wasting money, he walks away toward his part-time job. Kim Ji-hoon shouts after him, calling him the real fool. He asks how long Hyun-soo plans to keep suffering under hospital bills. He questions whether he intends to leave his body in that broken state forever. He insists that the game could change everything. Pointing out that the treatment would cost nearly 3 billion won, he begs him not to give up. Swearing to take responsibility for the 10 million won, Kim Ji-hoon pleads with him to try just once. The memory of the fire flashes through Hyun-soo's mind once again. Later at a construction site, he struggles to focus as his thoughts are overwhelmed by his friend's words. As he works, the sound of metal echoes in his heart, awakening deep nostalgia. Drawn by that feeling, he finds himself returning to the room with the gaming capsules, believing that the sound of metal guided him there, and remembering his friend's encouragement, he finally makes his decision. Hyun-soo chooses to enter the game. Silently, he promises his father that he will hear that sound again. The moment he logs in, system messages welcome him to Aries. He selects the nickname Hyun-soo. During character customization, the system analyzes his body and detects the scar. It asks whether he wishes to keep this appearance, and he agrees without hesitation. The process ends and he enters the game world. Immediately, he notices something unbelievable. The scar on his face has disappeared and the strength in his right arm has fully returned. Filled with determination, he resolves to work hard and repay the 10 million won debt. He is randomly summoned to the beginner zone in the barren region. Arriving at Ren's blacksmith workshop, he steps inside and sees an old blacksmith struggling desperately. The man declares he will forge a sword superior to all others, yet every strike is filled with frustration. Unable to watch any longer, Hyun-soo points out that the method is completely wrong. The blacksmith is stunned and asks him to repeat what he just said. Hyun-soo calmly repeats that the current method is flawed, though admitting it is none of his business. Hyun-soo says he could not stand by and watch a craftsman fail so badly. With nothing to lose, he speaks his mind without hesitation. The blacksmith throws him a hammer and challenges him to prove it. He warns that he will be watching closely like a hawk. This is exactly what Hyun-soo wanted, since he intended to ask for access to the workshop. He sets one condition. If he succeeds, he keeps the sword he creates. In return, he promises to show the blacksmith something truly extraordinary. The old man calls him arrogant but admits he likes his confidence. Still, he warns that failure will come with a heavy price. Hyun-soo accepts without hesitation. It has been 3 years since he last held a hammer. Despite his confidence, he wonders if he has grown rusty. But the moment he strikes the metal, his muscle memory awakens. Familiar sensations flood his body and his confidence surges instantly. He feels true happiness as he returns to his craft. The blacksmith watches closely, at first dismissing him as a beginner. However, it does not take long before he realizes that Hyun-soo's form is solid. Even so, he believes that a novice will eventually hit a limit. In this world, only results matter. The blacksmith assumes the effort is pointless until something unbelievable happens. He witnesses Hyun-soo using an advanced technique to remove impurities from the metal. The sight leaves him completely stunned, wondering why he never thought of it himself. Suspicious, he activates his special skill to analyze the steel. The result shocks him beyond belief. The metal has jumped from grade D to grade C in an instant. At that moment, he realizes that this young man is truly exceptional. Time passes and the blacksmith eventually falls asleep. By dawn, Hyun-soo finally completes his work. A system message appears announcing steel grade B. The blacksmith wakes up speechless at what stands before him. He has never seen anyone reach grade B without using special game skills, yet our hero refuses to stop. With growing disbelief, the old man realizes Hyun-soo is aiming even higher. As exhaustion sets in, the impressed blacksmith steps in to help. Working together, they finally finish refining the metal. Staring in awe, they witness the result, a graded ingot capable of forging a rare grade sword. The blacksmith admits that in all his years he has never seen anyone create a magic grade item, let alone a rare one. Excited, he tells Hyun-soo that together they can craft a one-of-a-kind weapon. Keeping things grounded, our protagonist insists it is too early to celebrate. He reminds him that they still need to finish the handle and polish the blade. Laughing, the blacksmith admits he has never met anyone quite like Hyun-soo. Calmly, our boy replies that he has been obsessed with blacksmithing since childhood, suggesting another challenge. The blacksmith proposes forging the sword again using new material. Reaching for something precious, he reveals a large gleaming piece of mithril. He explains it is a family heirloom passed down through generations. Surprised, Hyun-soo asks why he is being trusted with something so valuable. The old man answers that he has learned so much just by watching him. Wanting to see greatness, he hopes to witness what a true master can create. Thrilled by the opportunity, Hyun-soo eagerly accepts the challenge. Despite the risk, he cannot resist working with such legendary metal. Hesitantly, the blacksmith asks if he can call Hyun-soo master. Immediately shutting it down, our hero threatens to quit if he hears that again. Quickly agreeing, the old man promises to drop the title. 1 month later, the legendary sword Daylight is finally complete. It boasts incredible attack power and stats never before seen in the beginner zone. Meanwhile, inside the management center, developers panic over a strange anomaly. A level 1 player has caused something completely abnormal. The team leader is impressed, but a colleague reminds him of Hyun-soo's request for secrecy. Understanding this, he assumes there must be personal reasons behind it. Checking the system, the team leader asks for Hyun-soo's current location. His colleague reports that he has entered the hunting training center. Inside the facility, a trainer named Relson greets him with clear disdain. Warning him seriously, Relson explains that real monsters appear there. He mocks the idea of a level 1 player surviving even a moment. Telling him to leave, Relson suggests he go hunt rabbits instead. Confident in his hidden stats, Hyun-soo refuses to waste time. Reluctantly, the trainer allows him to try and tells him to choose a practice sword. Rejecting the offer, Hyun-soo declares he will use his own weapon. In truth, he spent an entire month grinding in the beginner zone, a place most players finish within 30 minutes. Yet that time was not wasted as his basic stats skyrocketed. On top of that, he now wields the only epic grade sword in the entire area. The most shocking part is that Hyun-soo is still level 1 without even choosing a class. Meanwhile, team leader Kim Taek grows anxious over this strange situation. He wonders if they should let the super AI Aries handle everything. A high-ranking executive simply smiles, knowing a legendary class awaits the boy. Back in the training ground, Relson laughs at the idea of a self-made sword. He belittles blacksmithing, calling it a useless profession. As the test begins, he insists that skill matters more than any weapon. Mocking Hyun-soo, he further lowers his affinity with him. Used to this treatment, Hyun-soo remains unfazed. In reality, his dream has always been dismissed as worthless. Yet inside Aries, he feels his efforts might finally pay off. Asking calmly, he inquires about the strongest swordsman trained there. Then boldly, he demands the hardest trial available. Angered by the arrogance, Relson still acknowledges his courage. Provoked, he agrees to a special trial reserved for the chosen few. Leading him away, he explains that the current record stops at stage 3. Summoning a level 6 swift goblin, he warns failure means a week-long ban. Ignoring the warning, Hyunso asks if that is truly the limit, declaring confidently, he says he will clear every stage. Insulted, Relson escalates things by summoning the final stage monster. A level 15 mad goblin appears radiating overwhelming danger. Few have passed the third stage, and none have cleared the fourth. The battle erupts instantly as the goblin attacks ferociously. Yet Hyunso dodges with precision like a seasoned fighter. Understanding weapons deeply, he senses the power within his blade. Activating Daylight Skill Durable Sword, he boosts his physical defense. The weapon surges with energy as he declares its superiority. With a single strike, he eliminates the swift goblin instantly. Suddenly, another goblin ambushes him, landing a heavy hit. Relson assumes the fight is over after witnessing a critical strike. To everyone's shock, Hyunso remains standing with most of his health intact. He explains that endless forging increased his strength and vitality. Warning him, Relson says the real nightmare is just beginning. The mad goblin unleashes thorns of madness, causing intense dizziness. Though impressed, Relson believes Hyunso has reached his limit. Steadying himself, our hero places full trust in his weapon. Activating Daylight passive skill Swift Blade, his attack speed skyrockets. Launching a barrage of strikes, he closes the gap between levels. Watching from afar, the developers are losing their minds. With a final decisive blow, Hyunso defeats all remaining enemies. Stunned, Relson shouts that such a feat is impossible. He praises Hyunso, realizing every move maximized the sword's potential. Assuming experience, he guesses Hyunso must be trained in swordsmanship. Calmly, Hyunso replies that he learned only one principle. A true blacksmith must be able to wield the weapons he creates. Noticing the scars and muscles, Relson sees proof of relentless effort. Realizing the truth, he apologizes sincerely for his earlier behavior. Respecting his talent, Relson suggests he become a Mad Lord. A system window appears, offering a legendary class change quest. Meanwhile, the developers panic at the appearance of this class. It surpasses even epic rankings, instantly making Hyunso a VIP user. The team leader realizes there is no turning back now. Such a class would make him a protector of the world. Back in the game, Relson urges him to accept the offer. Promising power, he claims Hyunso could rule among knights. However, our protagonist firmly rejects the proposal, declaring proudly he is a blacksmith, not a knight. Everyone both in-game and outside is left speechless. Relson laughs in admiration, calling Hyunso persistence incredible. Our hero reflects that he never thought he would wield a hammer again, but here his life as a blacksmith is finally restarting. Relson accepts his decision without hesitation. He hands over a recommendation letter for a hidden quest, along with a piece of rusty armor once worn by a mad master. He encourages Hyunso to achieve what others could not. Our protagonist promises to give it his all. Meanwhile, the developers observe everything closely. They agree that Hyunso has overcome his greatest crisis and that his potential is beyond normal limits. Now his journey to become the god of blacksmithing truly begins. System messages flood the screen non-stop, announcing the end of the tutorial and the start of the main quest. The real game is finally about to begin, but before he can even take his next step, everything suddenly cuts out. He is forcefully logged out of the game. Back in reality, Hyunso is faced with harsh truth. Gas bills and hospital fees have drained everything he has. His bank account is barely holding on. He realizes his top priority is survival. Keeping a roof over his family head comes first. At that moment, Kim Ji-hoon calls him. He asks if Hyunso finished the training zone. Hyunso replies that he just reached the village. Kim Ji-hoon immediately gets excited. He tells him to go straight to the auction house, explaining that gold inside the game equals real money. He admits this opportunity is the reason he brought Hyunso into Aries. Before ending the call, he says something meaningful. He has never seen swords better than the ones Hyunso and his father made. With the VIP capsule high synchronization, the results will be insane. He urges him to flood the world with his creations. Hyunso feels a deep sense of gratitude hearing this. After the call, he decides to fully commit to crafting and quests. He understands that stamina management will decide everything. To prepare himself, he starts training his body in reality. He quickly realizes something important. Game fatigue is nothing compared to real blacksmithing labor. The physical strain in real life is far more brutal. As he runs, he silently promises his father he will endure this path. Returning to Aries, he immediately heads to the auction house. He creates his own shop and names it Hyun's Forge. After setting up the shop, the system grants remote access to auctions. He selects a prototype sword he crafted earlier. This becomes Hyun's first sword, and it is already a rare grade weapon. Similar weapons usually sell for around 70 gold, but he boldly lists his for 100 gold instead, planning to explore while waiting for results. Suddenly, the auction board begins to explode with activity. Players notice the strange new listing immediately. The price begins climbing at an insane speed. Within moments, it surpasses 300 gold pieces. This sudden surge attracts attention from the Golden Shield Guild. One member rushes to inform the vice captain. He explains that the creator is level 1 with no class, yet managed to create a high-tier weapon from basic materials. The weapon even includes an enhancement option. The vice captain is instantly impressed by this detail. Using low-grade materials normally lowers enhancement success rates, which means that creators skillfully reduce costs while maintaining quality. He determines that the weapon is viable until level 50. Realizing the value of such talent, he decides to buy it immediately. Meanwhile, Hyunso doubts whether his item will even sell. Then suddenly, a system notification appears. Hyunso's first sword has been sold. He is shocked by how fast it happened. Checking the result, he sees the final price, 1080 gold pieces, far beyond his expectations. Quickly calculating, he realizes it equals over 1,000,000 Korean won. Joy and disbelief overwhelm him instantly. He then discovers the buyer is the Golden Shield Guild. Soon after, he receives a direct message. They offer him an exclusive contract or a guild position. Checking their profile, he sees 78,000 followers. He understands gaining followers is harder than leveling, and more followers means more profit. Looking at his own shop, he sees only 82 followers. Yet his inbox is overflowing with offers from other guilds. At that moment, he realizes something important. Aries is a paradise for blacksmiths. Even if he is nothing in reality, he has value here, because skill is measured through data, not status. Despite all offers, he decides not to join any guild yet. He chooses to prove himself alone first. With that resolve, he heads to the Lord Castle. Inside, Lord Burns is overwhelmed with stress. He discusses the situation with his advisor, Bell. The Lord questions if repairing the artifact is even possible. Bell explains failure would destroy it forever. He insists they need the greatest expert on the continent, but that expert refuses all contact. The Lord feels completely helpless. He cannot leave his territory to seek help, especially since the bow is his father's only legacy. But the truth behind Bell is far darker. He is actually a level 100 scammer posing as a blacksmith. He spent a full week gaining the Lord's trust, all for the purpose of stealing from him. He offers to take the bow to the capital, demanding 300 gold pieces for restoration. At that exact moment, Hyun-soo bursts into the room. He boldly declares the bow can be restored here. Bell immediately realizes his plan is collapsing, and rage begins to build inside him. Lord Burns remains doubtful of Hyun-soo's claim. He questions whether restoration is possible here without proper tools or a workshop. He orders a guard to confirm Hyun-soo's identity. The guard verifies he was sent by Instructor Relson. Surprised, the Lord asks him to introduce himself. Standing before the ruler of Bardin, he answers calmly. Name Hyun-soo, level 1 class, unemployed. Bell completely loses control hearing this. He cannot accept a level 1 speaking with such confidence. He argues restoration is work for level 80 experts. He accuses Hyun-soo of wasting their time. Our hero calmly shuts him down. He explains the weapon is not a recurve bow, but a traditional horn bow made from composite materials. Both the Lord and Bell are confused by this explanation. Hyun-soo reveals he learned details from guard Becker. He knows the bow belonged to the Lord Father, a gift from a mysterious foreign blacksmith. The Lord confirms this but warns about false hope. He demands proof before believing him. Hyun-soo agrees and asks to confirm one detail, then reveals a shocking truth. The bow was actually made in this land. He explains his deduction clearly. He saw a painting of a water buffalo in the hall. The horns are valuable crafting materials, but the key lies in the bow curvature. It was made using whale sinew, not cow sinew. He asks for confirmation. Lord Burns is completely stunned. Hyun-soo is absolutely correct. The Lord explains the foreigner was his father's friend, a blacksmith who used local rare materials, buffalo horns and whale sinew from Bardin Swamp, creating the finest bow in the region. The Lord is deeply impressed by Hyun-soo's insight, especially since Bell failed to notice everything. Now convinced, he officially asks for the restoration. Hyun-soo accepts the quest. The reward is 500 gold pieces. Bell is immediately ordered to leave. He exits in rage, swearing revenge. The Lord asks what is required. Hyun-soo lists everything confidently. Buffalo horns, whale sinew, special wood, and tools. He demonstrates full mastery of the craft. He receives the restoration method, but a warning appears. If the success rate drops below 70%, the bow will be destroyed forever. Hyun-soo recalls learning from his father. He remembers being asked if he enjoyed the work despite the pain and calluses. He answered that he loved doing it together. His father promised to teach him everything one day, but first he had to master materials. In the present, he whispers, "Yes, Dad." Feeling the same sensation in his hands, he believes he can succeed. Impressed, Lord Burns offers his help. They work together tirelessly. Hyun-soo focuses on shaping the wood, while the Lord assists him. Burns admits his strength is fading. Manual labor is no longer easy, but seeing Hyun-soo's passion gives him energy. After a full week, the Lord grows tired. He asks if he should return to his duties. Hyun-soo asks him to stay for the final step. He realizes the truth behind his actions. The Lord wants to restore his father's memory himself. Lord Burns confirms this honestly. He admits the bow is his last connection to his father. Then he asks Hyun-soo a simple question: "Why do you love this craft so much?" Our hero smiles softly and answers that his happiest memories are tied to it as well. They agree that restoring memories demands time and relentless effort, days slowly turning into weeks as 20 days of grinding pass without pause, until at last the final day arrives and the restoration of the sniper's hornbow is completed. The weapon reborn is something far greater than before, an epic creation with stats that surpass the original. Lord Burns stands silently before his father's statue, wondering if his old man is watching over him at this very moment. Hyun-soo suggests that the Lord should test it, and without hesitation Burns releases an arrow, feeling the power flow through it. As he notes that it does not merely feel the same, it feels even better. His laughter bursts out with joy as he proudly declares it a masterpiece, and at that exact moment a quest completion message appears before them. The system announcing that Hyun-soo's affinity with Lord Burns has reached its maximum, the success rating exceeding 10%. The Lord expresses his gratitude, telling Hyunsu that he can finally rest in peace. Yet he admits that the promised reward feels insignificant compared to what has been accomplished, and because of this overwhelming success, the reward is upgraded, granting not only 2,000 gold pieces, but also free access to the castle's blacksmith workshop. Our boy cannot hide his happiness as he quickly calculates the value, realizing that 2,000 gold translates to roughly 20 million won, enough to cover his father's medical expenses for a long time. Filled with admiration, the Lord suddenly asks a question that catches him off guard, wondering if he has ever considered learning swordsmanship, then revealing a secret from his past, that before becoming a lord he was once a swordsman himself. He introduces Hyunso to first swordsmanship, a legendary technique known for subduing countless monsters, admitting that while Hyunso is undoubtedly a natural-born blacksmith, he also sees within him the potential of a true swordsman. Supported by instructor Relson's recommendation and his own observations, Burns offers to share his essence and presents a skill quest to learn the technique, assuring him that with enough determination success is inevitable. For our boy, this opportunity is an unexpected blessing, and he throws himself into training like a machine, forging his own horn bow, restoring the rusted Madmaster armor, and enduring intense sessions as he spars daily with Lord Burns until he masters everything required. And when the time finally comes to leave, he confidently tells the Lord that he is fully prepared. Clad in his newly restored armor and carrying his custom bow, he declares his next goal to obtain a proper profession. He bids farewell to Burns and begins organizing his inventory, carefully reviewing his equipment, noting how the Madmaster armor compensates for his low level with a damage reflection ability. While his new bow boasts an incredible 60% accuracy boost to fund his journey, he crafts several rare bows and lists them on the auction house. Checking the listing of his second creation, Elsewhere Flame, the leader of the Golden Shield Guild, stares at the auction in disbelief, pointing out that even Korea's top player Black has never produced a bow of such quality at level 10. He is left in awe at how such an item could be crafted at level 1 using nothing but low-tier material. Flame recalls the words of the greatest blacksmith that the AI Aries decides everything, and if the system is impressed, it grants a fitting title, leading him to conclude that the master of Hyun's workshop must possess a legendary class to create artifacts of this caliber. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo himself is stunned upon seeing the final price of his bow, 250 gold pieces, realizing that this equates to around 25 million won, a life-changing amount for a single weapon. He also notices that his follower count has skyrocketed to over 3,200, his inbox overflowing with guild invitations, and with renewed determination he sets his sights on the holy land of blacksmiths, the Tower of Blacksmiths, arriving before the towering structure only to find its entrance sealed by a magic barrier bound in chains. A system message identifies it as the Tower of the Sword Maker, stating that to enter he must break the seal using a sword forged within the magic workshop. Examining the barrier closely, Hyunso recognizes it as volcanic basalt rock, soon discovering the entrance to the workshop and stepping inside, where he learns the rules. Materials and tools are unlimited, production time is accelerated, yet any sword created here can only be used for the test, making it a challenge purely focused on crafting a blade sharp enough to cut through stone. High above within the tower, Master Dayang mutters that all who come are fools chasing quick wealth, claiming that the true path of the blacksmith has long been lost, allowing anyone to attempt the trial knowing none will truly break the seal, at best only leaving a scratch upon its surface. Hyunsu decides to forge a Damascus sword, despite the system warning him that such a blade is meant only for master blacksmiths and suggesting he begin with a simple iron dagger. He ignores the advice entirely, taking advantage of the infinite materials as he applies a special forging method taught to him by his father, a technique specifically designed to cut through stone. Inspired by the perfect facilities around him, he calls the game insane as he throws himself fully into the process with unmatched energy, until suddenly a violent tremor shakes the entire tower, awakening Dang as he rushes to investigate, only to be left speechless at the sight of the once unbreakable seal split cleanly in half. Hyunsu calmly stepping through the now open entrance as Dang declares that the god of blacksmithing has finally appeared. Our protagonist approaches quietly, asking if he has passed, and Dang explains that while most are judged by the scratches they leave, Hyunsu completely destroyed the seal itself. As he wonders if this means a retest, a glowing magic circle appears beneath him, Dang clarifying that it is not magic but a summoning circle, before presenting his special hammer, prompting a system message announcing the acquisition of Dayang's hammer and the start of a new SS rank quest. Dayang tells him that the real trial begins now as he wishes him success, and in an instant Hyunso is transported, finding himself atop castle walls as an army of orcs advances toward the fortress, the quest updating to defeat the orc army, leaving him confused at the connection between warfare and blacksmithing. The soldiers quickly notice him and erupt into cheers, believing reinforcements have arrived. As the objective becomes clear, he must achieve a 70% contribution rate among 50 warriors. The squad leader Hans, a level 48 warrior, greets him warmly and explains that the orc invasion is intensifying, their equipment in poor condition as he urgently asks for repairs, but Hyunso shatters their expectations by explaining that it is a misunderstanding. As he has not yet taken the blacksmith class and possesses no repair skills, Hans points at the hammer in confusion, but he clarifies it is only for the test, and when asked about combat experience he admits he is a complete beginner, causing the mood to drop instantly as the soldiers realize they must now protect him instead. Hans orders him to take shelter in the watchtower, but before anything else can happen, a massive axe spins toward Hans at deadly speed, and without thinking Hyunzo dashes forward, effortlessly parrying the attack, shocking everyone as he calmly asks to join the fight. For him, this battlefield is the true test. Hans hesitates but ultimately agrees, instructing him to fall in as the overwhelming pressure of real combat crashes down on him. Yet despite it all, he is certain he will not lose, leaping into battle as he instantly defeats a level 10 orc and levels up, the results of his intense training finally showing. A nearby soldier named Ben watches in disbelief at the sheer strength of someone without a class, and as the chaos continues, Ben finds himself in danger, only for Hyunzo to react instantly, switching to his horn bow and firing a glowing arrow that pierces the orc's chest and saves him. Another enemy attempts to ambush him from behind, but our boy responds just as quickly, landing another shot and leveling up once more, leaving the soldiers stunned as even the largest monsters fall to a single arrow, and he shouts at Ben to snap out of it, warning that the orcs have now set their sights on him. Ben is rattled, surrounded. Our protagonist switches to his daylight sword and activates the rampage skill, unleashing absolute carnage. Orcs fall in droves. Hyunso's contribution rate jumps to 19%. Hans realizes the master had a good reason for sending this kid with Hyunso. Hans believes they can achieve the impossible. Excited, he rallies his soldiers to wipe out the enemy. Our hero feels like a true member of the squad, and the system announces his performance has boosted morale. The battle rages on and his contribution rises to 28%. He wonders why it isn't climbing faster even though he is dispatching orcs efficiently. Suddenly a hidden quest activates. A boss enters the battlefield. A level 51 orc warrior appears. Hans shouts for the squad to halt. He recognizes their nemesis. Panic spreads. Hans realizes they have advanced too far to escape. Yet his soldiers are ride or die. They declare they are ready to fight, and Ben vows never to retreat. Hans orders the attack. Our boy notices the soldiers charging recklessly. He tries to provide cover fire but gets a nasty shock. His arrows bounce off the orc warrior armor like rubber. Hyunsu realizes the foe's hide is like steel. Arrows alone won't work. Despair grips the squad. Someone suggests running, but Hans insists there is no turning back. The orc warrior charges. In a single brutal strike, the monster chops off Hans' arm. The squad leader realizes too late that victory is out of reach. Our protagonist watches in horror as Hans hits the dirt, blood pouring onto the battlefield. Panic spreads like wildfire as the orcs roar. One soldier screams that their weapons cannot even scratch the enemy armor, realizing their attacks are useless. Another is convinced they are all dead meat. Our hero steps up, shouting to the squad that fighting like this is suicide. He orders everyone to form a defensive line and retreat into the forest behind him, assuring them he will catch up soon. The squad obeys, evacuating their wounded leader Hans. Ben takes command of the rear, organizing the men to hold off the orcs as long as possible. He tells our boy this strategy will only buy a little time. Our protagonist replies that he just needs 5 minutes. Ben is on board, vowing to hold the line no matter what. With that, Hyunso vanishes into the trees. Standard arrows are useless against the orc warrior thick armor, so our hero pulls out Daing's replicating hammer, an epic tool capable of duplicating consumables and drastically slashing crafting time. For the first time, victory feels possible. Meanwhile, the soldiers fight desperately in the forest, holding back the relentless orc advance. Ben refuses to give up or retreat, determined to buy those 5 minutes for Hyunso. Just as Ben is about to be decapitated by the orc warrior, a streak of light tears through the air. It strikes the monster dead instantly, saving Ben life. The soldier is stunned. Suddenly, more projectiles fly from the shadows, each one hitting its target with terrifying accuracy. It turns out our boy is crafting and firing these special arrows from his hidden position. The orc warrior roars in fury at this new tactic. As the monster rages, our protagonist prepares his next weapon, with the soldiers pinning all their hopes on him. Hyunso has crafted special arrows called Pyeongjun, rare short arrows with insane penetration power and speed, capable of shattering stone. To fire them, he uses a bamboo guide known as a tonga. With the battle won, the mission to suppress the invasion ends in total victory. Our hero's final contribution reaches an astonishing 92%. The system announces the mission is complete with an exceptional record. The victorious soldiers chant Master Hyunsu's name. He wins the squad's full trust and receives a hidden title, Battlefield Commander. Approaching the injured Hans, who is being patched up, our protagonist listens as the leader speaks. Hans admits they always focused on defense and never believed they could fulfill their long-held dream of defeating the orcs. He thanks Hyunsu, as do the rest of the soldiers. Our hero thanks them right back, realizing his additional test is finally over. Hyunsu considers returning to the Blacksmith Tower, but wonders how to get back. Back at the central tower of Blacksmith's Tower, Master Daeng is in a mood. He complains that the tower has fallen off. All the glory goes to the knights, while the people coming here are just chasing a quick buck. Daeng insists they need someone worthy to fulfill the prophecy and restore their golden age. Coulson interrupts, dripping with sarcasm. He questions if Daeng is even qualified to lead. Disdainful Coulson dismisses the chosen one idea as a total hoax. He whines about being summoned during his busy schedule just to test some random foreign kid. Diang shuts him down, asking if Coulson actually read the report. Hyun-soo earned this right by merit, passing the test and annihilating the orc army despite having no class. The other masters are shocked by the word annihilation. They cannot believe a classless player pulled that off. Diang points out that the prophecy demands a successor stronger than anyone. The sword itself will give the final answer. The grand doors swing open and our protagonist steps into the magnificent hall. Diang welcomes him, confirming he has passed the test and now has the right to enter the sanctuary of blacksmiths. He tells our hero he is eligible to challenge the sword of prophecy. Everything will be decided once Hyun-soo holds the weapon. Our boy reflects on the phrase suitable reward. He recalls the SS rank mission he crushed and wonders if he is about to snag a legendary class. Coulson steps forward to congratulate Hyun-soo, complimenting his quick thinking, but his tone turns nasty. He claims the arrow Hyun-soo made was just a cheap replica and dismisses the victory as pure luck. Coulson sneers that without the epic bow, our protagonist would have failed. He challenges him to draw the sword, eager to see if his luck holds up. Hyun-soo looks around. He realizes these masters are high NPCs who shape the legends of Aries. Noticing that Coulson, master of the Bowsmith Tower, is level 365, our hero understands everyone here is a heavy hitter. Still, he feels zero inferiority. He believes that if it comes down to pure craftsmanship without the bias of titles, he would come out on top. Our protagonist approaches the legendary sword. It glows with overwhelming power, sending a wave of energy that shocks the masters. Suddenly, the sword erupts in brilliant light, engulfing the entire hall. Hyun-soo wonders what is happening as he is swallowed by the energy. When the light fades, he stands in the same spot, but the sword has vanished. Diang gasps. He laughs, realizing the real successor did not even need to touch the sword. It chose him instantly. Across the hall, Coulson curses in rage, refusing to accept the outcome. Just then, the system drops a bomb, announcing that the first god class has appeared in the world of Aries. Coulson's anger boils over. He cannot accept that a novice receives such an immense honor. The system confirms it. Hyun-soo has advanced to the god of blacksmithing. Our protagonist and Diang are stunned. This is not just a legendary class, but the first of its kind, granting him insane abilities. He is no longer bound by level requirements while crafting, and his experience increases automatically based on the items he creates. The prophecy confirms that as a blacksmith he will become stronger than anyone else. A new class quest, Test of the Sword, appears, unlocking at level 100. The other tower masters whisper among themselves, accepting the sword's choice. However, Coulson throws a yapping session, loudly protesting, reminding everyone of a specific clause. The successor must gain the recognition of all tower masters. Coulson officially challenges Hyun-soo to a blacksmith duel. The terms are set: if our boy wins, Coulson will recognize him. If Coulson wins, Hyun-soo must give up the position. Diang tries to stop it, but Coulson glares at his colleagues in defiance. Our protagonist decides to mock him, saying that if Coulson wants to run away, now is the time. He adds that if Coulson loses, he will have to serve as deputy tower master and take his training seriously. Coulson laughs, but our boy accepts the challenge with complete confidence. At that moment, a secret skill unlocks a way for blacksmiths to communicate through their craft. Hyun-soo gains the ability to use custom god crafting. The salty master explains that a blacksmith duel is a different ballgame from a knight contest. It is not about physical strength, but a clash between two creation. The rules are simple. Both blacksmiths forge a sword, then smash them against each other. The blade that breaks first loses. Coulson declares the workshop is ready. Since Hyun-soo has skills, one day should be enough. He mocks our boy, telling him they will meet tomorrow. After Coulson storms off, Diang warns our protagonist that he accepted the duel too lightly. The tower master explains that Coulson is one of the most skilled artisans on the continent. Hyun-soo agrees. If he were still an ordinary blacksmith, he would get crushed. Typically, skills are tied to level and title. But now that our hero has advanced to god class, those restrictions are gone. The only thing that matters is pure skill. Thanks to his new status, he has acquired the active god rank skill, custom god crafting. This skill allows him to create fully customized artifacts and bestow any effect he chooses. The catch is the higher the grade of the chosen effects, the harder the crafting process becomes. Meanwhile, in his own workshop, Kelmden is stuck in the past. He remembers believing he would inherit the family craft. Instead, someone more skilled appeared, forcing him to settle for Bow Tower Master. He accepted it to serve Diang, but he cannot accept Diang elevating a stranger above everyone else. Kelmden pours his frustration into the hammer, causing an explosion of fire. In Hein's workshop, Diang watches our boy at work. The Tower Master knows that bestowing abilities follows the law of equivalent exchange. Usually one prioritizes durability to gain an edge in a duel. Yet Diang is confused. The durability and stats of Hyun's sword appear to be only rare grade. Our protagonist completes his sword, the blade shining with brilliant light. Diang wonders just what the god of blacksmithing is cooking. The next day, everyone gathers for the showdown. Coulson challenges Hyunso to prove himself worthy. Coulson reveals his sword first. Coulson Dark Knight, a unique sword. Its stats are insane: 12,000 durability and 664 attack power. It also features abilities that boost durability by 35%. Daung and the other masters praise Coulson craftsmanship. Coulson flexes that his blade is a masterpiece and demands to see what our boy has made. Hyun-soo unveils his sword, stunning them for the wrong reasons. It is only rare grade, its durability is a pathetic 100 and its attack power sits at 177. A tower master sneers, calling the sword ridiculous, and claiming Daung was foolish to trust a random player. Coulson proclaims this is the end and charges at Hyun-soo. Our protagonist stands his ground. Metal clashes against metal as the battlefield trembles with each impact. Then a sharp snap rings out, cutting through the tension, dang, and the spectators freeze, jaws dropping in disbelief. Coulson's unique sword, Dark Knight, shatters into pieces, fragments scattering across the floor. Coulson stands speechless, unable to process what just happened. Calmly, Hyun-soo explains that a sword value is not determined by grade alone. The details of our hero weapon appear, revealing its special active ability, a sword that cuts swords. This custom effect grants a 65% chance to sever the opponent weapon upon impact, a unique unreplicable blade, a literal glass cannon forged for a single purpose. Daung recalls his father's prediction about a successor who would break tradition. He remembers a younger Coulson once eager to learn those teachings. A flashback unfolds, revealing our protagonist in the workshop, explaining to Daung that simply breaking swords would never convince the masters. That is why he chose to create a blade that literally cuts swords. Daung had doubted such a concept was even possible, yet Hyun-soo proved that infusing unique properties comes down to pure skill and relentless effort. Now Daung understands it was a bold and daring choice. He realizes our hero possesses the vision to turn impossible ideas into reality. Coulson whispers the title God of Blacksmithing under his breath, wondering if he will ever forge something of that level. Hyun-soo looks at him with a calm smile, declaring that the word impossible does not exist. Coulson accepts defeat. Our protagonist tells the fallen master that he now stands before the God of Blacksmithing. A system window appears, announcing that the Duel of the Blacksmith quest is complete. The Tower Masters reward Hyun-soo with a generous payout, a box containing 500 gold coins. On top of that, they hand him a scroll detailing the recipe for a legendary bow, one of the 10 treasures of the tower. Coulson admits that this recipe is beyond his reach, and believes entrusting it to someone destined for greatness is the right choice. Daung addresses our protagonist, declaring that the God of Blacksmithing will usher in a new age of prosperity. He urges him to aim for the absolute peak as the growth of a god begins now. The scene shifts to the real world. Hyun-soo celebrates with Kim Ji-hoon. The wealthy friend cannot believe he is drinking beer on Hyun-soo's dime. He congratulates him on achieving a god rank class, calling it insane. Kim Ji-hoon admits he only recommended the game to prevent our hero talent from wasting away, yet never imagined he would become this powerful. He points out that after everything our protagonist endured, he is finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Ji-hoon asks the question, what actually changes with a god class? Our boy laughs, admitting that honestly not much feels different yet. His immediate concern is the hospital bill looming like a ticking time bomb due tomorrow. To make matters worse, another 10 million won has been added to the treatment cost. Ji-hoon shares an update about his father's new medicine. The bad news is it is not covered by insurance, meaning the cost is at least 20 million won. He reminds Hyun-soo that his own burn treatments are not cheap either. Ji-hoon delivers a harsh reality check. Having a god class alone will not pay the bills. There is a physical limit to how many items our hero can craft. He explains that Hyun-soo needs to level up and build massive fame. Ji-hoon lays out the strategy. Connect with the biggest players in Aries to secure larger rewards and rare items. Our protagonist takes the advice seriously. Ji-hoon then reveals he has a plan, claiming his big brother in the game will help. Our boy laughs, telling him not to get fired from his real job. Ji-hoon shows him the latest news. The internet is exploding over a player named Lord who has always been ranked 21st, finally reaching a legendary class. The shocking part is that Lord defeated Sword King Barad, an NPC no one had ever beaten before. Players are losing their minds. Meanwhile, our protagonist feels the crushing pressure of hospital costs reaching 30 million won per month. He realizes even combining quest rewards and auction profits, he is still short. Hyun-soo refuses to let his father's treatment stop. Then suddenly he receives a notification. One of his swords has sold for 5,310 gold coins. The buyer is Lord. Without hesitation, our boy rushes to the hospital reception and pays everything in full. With the burden lifted, Hyun-soo realizes he can never stop playing Aries. Back in the game, he receives a message from Lord. The ranker explains that thanks to Hyun-soo's sword, he passed Sword King Barad's test. He adds that anyone who understands its value would call the price a bargain. The message reveals the secret: our hero's sword cut through the Sword King weapon, creating an opening that stunned the NPC. Lord presents a massive opportunity, revealing that King Barad is waiting for him and wants him to forge a sword. Our protagonist is stunned, realizing this is the chance to solve all his problems. Determined not to waste it, he decides meeting Barad is essential. Elsewhere, a stylish man enters an old blacksmith workshop in the real world, whispering that only 1 month remains on their promise. Back to Hyun-soo. He speaks with Kim Ji-hoon on the phone, who is shocked at the idea of approaching Sword King Barad directly. Ji-hoon laughs, pointing out that even a god rank class does not grant unlimited access. Normally, meeting a high-level NPC like Barad requires at least level 200 and high fame. However, he reveals a loophole. Ji-hoon explains the Goyard Martial Arts Tournament, an annual event restricted to levels 50 to 60, hosted by King Barad to scout talent. The winner receives a reward directly from the king. Jahan concludes that if Hyunsu wants to meet him immediately, this is the only path. Remembering dying advice to explore the world, our protagonist sets his next destination. Filled with determination, he heads toward the castle region to begin his journey. Hyunsu recalls Daeng warning about the castle region located between the Prime and Goyard kingdoms, a brutal battlefield holding back endless waves of undead. It is the fastest place to gain levels, and our hero is determined to conquer it. Upon arrival, Centurion Lander greets him, asking if he is part of the reinforcements, noting the timing is perfect, as they desperately need manpower. The commander explains that undead attacks are increasing, and shares the history of the region. In the past, the holy bell of Ramas rang across the land, weakening monsters, but recently it shattered, leaving them vulnerable. Despite strengthening defenses, the enemy exploited the weakness and began advancing. Hyunsu asks if the bell can be repaired. Lin Zhao freezes, suddenly realizing who Hyunsu might be. He asks if he came from Master Daeng, and our boy confirms it. Lin Zhao panics, wondering why he did not say so earlier, and rushes him to meet the captain. Captain Call of the Castle Knights questions if Daeng sent him personally. Lin Zhao confirms, explaining that Hyunsu wants to inspect the bell. However, Captain Call shuts the idea down, stating that Daeng already declared it impossible to repair. Multiple attempts were made, including by a level 290 master, yet all failed. The captain eyes our protagonist and demands his level. Hyunsu answers honestly, level 13. Lin Zhao is stunned, and Captain Call sighs, calling him a liability, advising him to stay in the rear lines. The captain explains that if the main undead army breaks through, it is game over. Suddenly, a soldier bursts in, reporting that ghouls are attacking the eastern wall, a massive horde of level 41 monsters charging the gate. The captain declares the situation critical, ordering Linder to follow, while warning Hyunsu to stay silent about the bell. Our hero believes that if this mirrors the Orc War, he can handle it. A new regional war quest begins. Drive away the ghouls and defend the gate. The horde storms the walls as soldiers fight desperately. Linder explains that undead are extremely durable, and without holy power, defeating them takes too long. He is shocked when Hyunsu drops a ghoul instantly with a single arrow to the head. Our boy activates the flying arrow skill, and the projectile pierces through multiple enemies like a truck. The soldiers cheer, and Lander declares victory is possible. Hyunsu begins to think the situation is manageable until the system announces a new phase. A massive threat emerges, triggering a quest to defeat a giant siege ghoul. Panic spreads among the soldiers as they consider calling the captain, but realize he is occupied at the main gate. No reinforcements are coming. As the creature approaches, Lander fears the wall will collapse. Hyunsu steps forward, declaring he will draw its attention. He leaps from the wall, ignoring the soldiers shouting that it is suicide. Below, he faces the massive ghoul head-on, skillfully dodging its attacks and securing its focus. Our hero believes that defeating this monster will secure their defense, so he begins to kite it away from the wall. However, the ghoul attacks with surprising speed, catching him off guard. He switches to his bow, firing a flying arrow directly at its head, but the shot bounces off harmlessly, dealing 0 damage. The level difference is overwhelming. The ghoul retaliates with a devastating strike, dropping his HP below 10%. A system warning appears, stating that if his HP reaches 0, he will be forcibly logged out. Our boy refuses to accept defeat. As he struggles on the ground, the reality hits him that failing here means losing everything. The tournament opportunity, his father, treatment, his own survival, and his future as a blacksmith. Knowing this is his only chance to change his life, our protagonist pushes beyond his limits. He fires another arrow, causing the ghoul to roar in pain. But the monster retaliates with a deafening sonic blast, dropping his HP below 3%. Even in this state, he prepares another shot, but suddenly the bowstring breaks. The ghoul seizes the moment, launching a final attack, leaving Hyunsu at exactly 1 HP. Standing on the brink of death, he refuses to give up. His determination triggers a system message announcing that a rare condition has been met. His will resonates with the god of blacksmithing, unlocking a new skill, emergency god crafting. The conditions are extreme. He must forge a weapon within 20 seconds, and it will only exist for 30 seconds before disappearing. Realizing this is his final chance, he begins immediately. A countdown starts as he gathers materials and crafts at unbelievable speed. As the timer reaches 0, he completes a new sword and charges forward. With a fierce shout, Hyunso activates the Scythe of Death skill, freezing the monster momentarily before delivering a perfect strike. The blade pierces through the giant ghoul, destroying it instantly. The creature collapses, defeated, as our hero collapses from exhaustion. A system message declares the boss eliminated, granting massive experience, boosting his level to 38. Hyunsu exhales in relief, knowing he is qualified for the tournament. Completely drained, he loses consciousness as Lander and the soldiers rush to his side. Later, he awakens bandaged and lying in bed, surrounded by soldiers chanting his name, calling him a true hero. One steps forward, thanking him for saving everyone. Captain Cal approaches, expressing gratitude and asking how he managed to win. Hyunsu gives a vague answer, knowing the truth would sound unbelievable. Captain Cal insists he should not downplay his achievements, stating clearly that Hyunsu carried the team. Internally, our protagonist knows exactly what happened. He realized that ghouls as spiritual entities are weak against holy power. This reminded him of the Sword of the Four Symbols, a blade known for annihilating evil. Drawing from his father's teachings, he recreated it on the spot using his god skill. Captain Cal refuses to let it go and insists on giving him a reward, handing over a pouch filled with 2,000 gold coins. Seeing this, our boy is genuinely happy, realizing it equals roughly 20 million won, a massive payout. Cal admits he misjudged Hyun-soo at first, thinking he was just another scrub, and asks for forgiveness. Our protagonist reassures him it is all good. At that moment, their affinity reaches the maximum. Then Captain Cal makes a formal request asking Hyun-soo to repair the Ramas bell. The captain sensed holy power in the sword Hyun-soo used, and believes restoration is possible. Hyun-soo politely apologizes, appreciating the trust but explaining he needs to head to the Goyard Kingdom for the tournament. Captain Cal smiles and drops irresistible bait, revealing that the Lord owns a piece of legendary metal, and if the bell is restored, that metal will belong to him. Our protagonist's interest spikes instantly. Captain Cal brings him to the artifact, revealing a pile of golden fragments. Hyun-soo is stunned, realizing the bell is not just damaged but reduced to dust. The captain asks if he can recreate it. Hyun-soo admits it is worse than expected, yet insists there must be a solution. Suddenly, a girl interrupts the conversation, declaring the bell cannot be restored, adding that even at level 290 she failed to fix it. She locks eyes with our boy and calls him a fraud. The story rewinds to before the chaos as a girl named Nell, also known as Team Leader Kim, drops shocking news to the Golden Shield Guild, announcing her resignation. Flame, the guild master, is stunned, asking why she is leaving so suddenly and if she cares about everything they built together. Nell responds that she is completely burned out. Flame tries to stop her, insisting that if he recruits the blacksmith Hyun-soo, things will improve. Nell snaps back, saying his obsession is the problem, questioning how they can justify offering 500 million won to a random player within a year. Flame argues that Hyun-soo sold his first crafted sword for 50 million won, claiming recruiting him would skyrocket their ranking. Nell counters by listing their past failures, reminding him of the freelancer who left, the one who ran off with the deposit, and another who disappeared after winning the lottery. She warns him not to stand in her way. Flame reluctantly gives in, telling her the door is always open if she returns. The narrative shifts back to the present in Kassel, where Nell arrives to find the village devastated. Shocked at how quickly destruction has spread, she reflects that Kassel is special to her, that the villagers are not just NPCs but real people. She believes that if the Rama spell could be restored, the tragedy could end, and decides to check the artifact one last time. Upon entering the bell chamber, she is surprised to find Hyun-soo already there and immediately accuses him of being a fraud. Our hero is confused, asking who she is to judge him. Nell declares she is a far higher-ranked blacksmith. Captain Cal steps in, telling them to calm down, introducing Nell as the expert he mentioned earlier and Hyun-soo as the hero who defeated the ghouls. He proudly adds that our boy volunteered to repair the bell. Nell scoffs internally, doubting a level 38 monster hunter could fix a holy artifact that defeated professionals. She accuses him of exploiting Kassil's desperation for profit. Hyun-soo ignores her and focuses on the fragments as a system notification confirms the Rama bell still contains holy power but is completely destroyed, making normal repair impossible. Our hero concludes conventional restoration is impossible, then suddenly grabs a hammer and smashes one of the fragments. Nell screams, begging him to stop, but Hyun-soo remains calm, stating restoration is possible. The high-level blacksmith grows furious, asking if he even understands what unrepairable means. Just then a soldier rushes in, reporting that the undead are swarming in overwhelming numbers. Everyone freezes as a system window appears. At first, our protagonist assumes it is a quest, but quickly realizes it is an update notification. The message announces the Castle region update has begun, and once completed, the area will permanently transform into a land of the undead. Nell falls into despair, believing it is the end, but our boy tells her otherwise. He declares that if they can reconstruct the bell before the update finishes, they can stop the transformation. Nell insists it is impossible, but our protagonist stands firm. He challenges her, asking if she was not the one who wanted to protect Castle more than anyone. Nell admits he is right, but has no idea how to achieve it. Our hero tells her to follow him as he gathers the shattered remains of the Rama bell into his inventory, declaring with conviction that they will protect Castle together. Captain Cal tells Hyun-soo he is counting on him, promising to hold the line as long as possible. The scene shifts to the blacksmith workshop, where Nell asks for the plan, and our protagonist explains his theory. When he shattered the fragment, the holy power remained, proving the energy exists within the material itself. He plans to melt everything down and forge an entirely new bell, believing the holy power will return even stronger. Nell admits she has never seen such a method, and Hyun-soo explains that repair is not just about skill but understanding the heart of the object. As the smelting begins, Nell is surprised, wondering if he truly intends to do all the work manually. Our boy turns to her, asking why she is standing still, admitting he cannot do this alone. Meanwhile, in the real world at the developer office, a dev monitors the Kaesul region update countdown, with less than an hour remaining. Taesuk, the senior developer, watches intensely while a colleague mocks the idea that one person can change the outcome. Another points out that Nell, a top-tier player, is helping him. As the final moments approach, the battle intensifies. Captain Cal shouts for his men to hold the line as exhausted soldiers fall one after another. A massive monster breaks through, but Cal intercepts and slays it before rushing to his wounded comrades, urging them to survive. Amid the chaos, a crack forms in his sword and despair sets in as another monster lunges at him. Just as defeat seems certain, a powerful bong echoes across the battlefield, freezing the undead in place as they clutch their heads, screaming before bursting into flames. The sound of the bell spreads across the entire region, and Captain Cal shouts in triumph that the Rama bell has been restored. Back at the developer office, an employee spits out his drink in shock as the screen displays the outcome. Tusuk reveals that our boy has not slept since the update countdown began. A week ago, a flashback reveals the insanity starting 5 days earlier when Hyun-soo rushed to the blacksmith workshop and castle. Rallying the residents, our protagonist tells everyone they must melt everything down to draw out the divine power. While Hyun-soo drafts the schematics, he places Nell in charge of herding the crowds, organizing the workforce, and supplying the battlefield. Afterward, our hero activates the custom god crafting skill, planning to amplify the bell power against evil, while adding a specific attribute designed to annihilate the undead. He orders the workers to raise the furnace heat higher and fueled by their shared will to protect the castle. Every villager pushes forward. Hyun-soo reminds them to remove every impurity as the workers pour their blood, sweat, and tears into the process. The days begin to blur together from the 4th day until the final hours. Everything becomes a haze as Nell stands watch exhausted until she finally collapses. She jolts awake in shock, realizing how long she had been out, and when she spots the completed bell, she is stunned that Hyun-soo has been working non-stop for days. A system window appears showing her apprentice title glowing as witnessing the work of a master craftsman boosts her efficiency by 22%. Nell stares in awe, wondering if this young man is truly a master. Hyun-soo notices she is awake and jokes that she slept like a baby despite all the noise. Nell protests, insisting she was not out long, while our protagonist reassures her they are almost finished. Suddenly, Nell asks directly if he is the blacksmith Hyun-soo, and our boy confirms it, placing his hand on the newly forged bell. The artifact radiates immense power as his special mark appears, and Nell gazes at it in admiration, declaring that beautiful is not enough to describe it. Calling it a true masterpiece, a system message announces that this is Hyun-soo's second custom creation, boasting unique infinite durability, an artifact once considered impossible to repair. Nell wonders if its history itself fuels its strength, admitting she has never seen anything like it. Suddenly she grabs Hyun-soo's hands, pleading for him to stay with her. Moving forward, confused, Hyun-soo asks if this is a confession, causing Nell to flush red before clarifying. She means professionally. The scene snaps back to the battlefield as our hero strikes the newly forged bell. Waves of holy energy erupt outward, instantly incinerating the undead as they scream and vanish from existence. The soldiers gasp, witnessing the miracle as a system message confirms. Hyun-soo has crafted a new bell and eliminated the undead threat, successfully halting the update and creating a new storyline. Our boy shouts in triumph, declaring they did it, thanking the heavens for making it in time before collapsing from exhaustion as the adrenaline fades. Nell rushes to his side, asking frantically if he is okay, while another system message confirms the Ramus Bell repair quest is complete, and a new notification appears stating that the rewards have changed due to this unprecedented achievement. Meanwhile, the Aries player community explodes with excitement as someone posts the reason the castle region update failed, sharing before and after images of the tower. Players quickly recognize Hyun-soo as the creator of his first custom sword, and are stunned that he repaired the Ramus Bell. Thousands begin following his workshop instantly, as Hyun-soo awakens in bed to a flood of notifications. Checking his interface, he sees his workshop follower count has skyrocketed to over 111,000, leaving him stunned before he smiles, realizing he made the right decision, engraving his name on the bell, ensuring everyone visiting castle will see it as free marketing. A knock sounds at the door as Captain Cal enters with a bright smile, declaring the savior of the region has finally awakened. He announces that with the Lord blessing he has come to deliver the reward, handing Hyun-soo a massive sum of gold, leaving our boy speechless as it translates to roughly 330 million won. The captain explains that only a savior deserves such a reward, and also presents a box of personal gift from the Lord. Inside, Hyun-soo finds the legendary metal oracle and thanks the captain, who shakes his head insisting they are the ones in his debt, pointing out that unlike others, Hyun-soo stayed and fought to protect them. Our protagonist feels the sincerity, reflecting that the suffering in Aries mirrors the pain he knows in real life. Preparing to leave, he states he must return to where he once lived, and the captain agrees as Hyun-soo logs out, deciding to reclaim his workshop in the real world. Captain Cal and his attendant watch the spot where he vanished, commenting on how strange outsiders are. The next day in Gongju, Hyun-soo meets real estate investor Kang Hyukok, who checks his phone, seeing a notification that Hyun-soo has deposited 330 million won. Kang turns to him in disbelief, expressing amazement that he actually succeeded as the story rewinds to a year earlier, when Hyun-soo met Kang reviewing property papers. Kang calculated the damage at 330 million won, mentioning the fire and reassuring him that insurance should cover hospital costs, while encouraging him to stay strong. As Kang prepared to leave, Hyun-soo asked if he could buy back the workshop, catching him off guard before repeating his request, explaining that if he gathered the money he wanted the chance to reclaim it. Kang warned that buying a burned-down property was a waste of money, suggesting it would be wiser to purchase a new place. But Hyun-soo insisted, stating the workshop held his father's memories. Moved by this, Kang granted him a 1-year grace period, warning that after that the property would go to the first buyer with cash. Hyun-soo thanked him and Kang said he would wait for his call. Back in the present, Kang stares at the deposit, admitting he never truly believed it would happen, thinking the boy was asking for a miracle. Hyun-soo admits the deadline was a gamble, knowing the opportunity could vanish anytime. Yet Kang kept his word. When asked why he agreed, Kang explains that Hyun-soo was the first person to ask to buy back property immediately after losing it, and he wanted to support that determination. Hyun-soo expresses his gratitude, realizing he preserved his father's legacy thanks to Kang, and feels compelled to repay him, asking if he knows the game Aries. Kang laughs, saying everyone talks about it, as Hyun-soo reveals he is a blacksmith in the game. Kang remarks it suits him perfectly, and accepts a favor, asking for a custom artifact, regardless of stats, as our protagonist promises to deliver anything he wants. Later in the game, Hyun-soo enters a tavern where Nell waves him over, marking their first meeting since the undead incident. She complains about how hard it was to track him down before laughing and admitting she was teasing. Nell formally introduces herself as the former chief strategist of the Golden Shield Guild, claiming she built it into its current state. She states with certainty after witnessing the events at the castle that Hyun-soo will become a top-tier ranker and gets straight to the point, requesting to be the first member when he forms a guild. Our hero jokes that she called him a scammer days ago, prompting Nell to apologize while insisting anyone would have misunderstood. Hyun-soo assures her he was joking and says he looks forward to working together. Before leaving, he shares his plans, shocking Nell when he reveals he intends to meet Sword King Barad by entering the Goyard martial arts tournament. While eating, he wonders if the winner truly receives their reward directly from the king, as Nell confirms it, though she looks concerned, explaining the tournament is filled with elite competitors and rising talents, making it extremely dangerous. Hyun-soo shrugs, saying that is exactly why he must win, as Nell questions how he can stay calm under such pressure, and he reassures her he will aim for the top using his specialty. Leaving her confused, the day of the Goyard martial arts tournament arrives as the host welcomes participants, announcing the event will begin once he steps down, and that they must face monsters immediately. He adds that although the king remains unseen, His Majesty Sword King Barad is watching from the shadows, urging everyone to behave before wishing them luck. A system window appears, declaring the tournament has begun, as contestants brace themselves for the first trial, which requires them to survive an onslaught of golems for 1 hour. Many players rush eagerly, seeking easy experience, until another system message announces that defeating a level 109 stone golem will grant a reward. One participant panics at the difficulty while another charges forward, shouting "first come, first served," only to be instantly crushed and logged out. Chaos erupts as players are eliminated one by one, realizing the event is far more dangerous than expected. Terror spreads as they question how anyone can defeat such a monster at the start, while Hyun-soo observes calmly as others curse their misfortune, believing they have been tricked. Elsewhere, tournament head Bakal realizes the situation is disastrous as a high-level stone golem has spawned in the beginner arena. Fearing total annihilation, he rushes to report to the king, bursting into the chamber calling for Sword King Barad, insisting the tournament must be stopped immediately. Yet the king refuses, leaving him confused. Barad interrupts, ordering him to watch the screen, pointing to a specific warrior on the battlefield, and commanding him to observe that individual closely. In the arena, Hyun-soo fires a glowing arrow that slams into the stone golem, revealing his third custom creation, the Oraculum Aegis, a special arrow that defies physics, returning to its user after being fired. Other players lose their minds, shouting how an arrow could possibly come back like a boomerang. Our protagonist feels satisfied as the arrow earned from the castle region performs exactly as intended thanks to the legendary Oraculum. Our boy fires again, and the projectile strikes the golem once more before whipping back and nearly decapitating another participant, who screams, asking if Hyun-soo is trying to kill him. Hyun-soo quickly apologizes as the impact stuns the golem for 4 seconds. Players shout that the monster is stuck, urging everyone to attack immediately as contestants unleash a barrage of spells, strikes, and abilities. Yet the golem shrugs it all off and releases a furious roar, launching a savage counterattack. Panic spreads as participants scream for each other to dodge, while the enraged golem locks onto our hero. One player yells they only need to survive a little longer, while another screams at Hyun-soo to run. Players take heavy hits, struggling to stay alive, as at the final moment our protagonist switches to his daylight sword, refusing to back down, and tanks the massive blow, only to be slammed violently into the ground by the impact. Above the battlefield, the tournament head pleads with Sword King Barad, suggesting the event should end. Since the participant appears to have reached his limit, the king watches with growing interest as suddenly everything shifts. Despite being knocked down, Hyun-soo activates emergency god crafting once more, completing the process instantly and forging Damascus World 2, a temporary weapon designed specifically to cut stone. With a single decisive strike, our protagonist obliterates the stone golem as the blade vanishes immediately after fulfilling its purpose. At the same time, notifications flood in, and Hyun-soo is stunned as his level jumps by 14 in an instant, an overwhelming surge of experience. The remaining players stare in disbelief, unable to comprehend how he one-shot the monster, as Hyun-soo asks them in confusion if they were not supposed to kill it. The contestants respond explaining that the goal was only to survive as the trial has 3 stages and the appearance of the high-level golem had already broken the balance. They clarify that the creature was meant to be endured, not defeated. Our boy finally realizes he accidentally shattered the event itself as his vision fades and he collapses from mana exhaustion. Players gather around noting that despite being unconscious, he has not been logged out while they speculate about his abilities, initially believing he was multi-skilled but now suspecting he is a weapon master, wishing they had even one weapon as broken as his. At that moment, Bikal announces to all participants that due to an organizer error, the Goyard martial arts tournament is suspended, ordering everyone to exit immediately. News of Hyunsu's feat spreads online like wildfire as thousands tune into the live stream watching his unconscious body lying in the arena. Viewers are amazed at how he soloed the stone golem, demanding details about his equipment as one observer zooms in, noticing the arrow Hyunsu dropped and spotting his name engraved on it. The chat instantly connects the dots, realizing this is Blacksmith Hyunsu, the one who repaired the supposedly unrepairable bell in castle, leaving everyone stunned at how a blacksmith could be this overpowered. Meanwhile, in the shareholder company offices, the customer service team is overwhelmed, drowning in tickets, questioning why the tournament was halted, as staff can only respond that it was a decision made by Aries' free will, speculating it may be tied to internal conflict in the Goyard kingdom, while issuing endless apologies. In the development department, an employee urgently reports a major issue to her team leader, who initially brushes it off, but is forced to listen as she reveals that the Goyard tournament has been suspended. He reacts calmly at first, saying it was expected, but she quickly clarifies the real problem, that Sword King Barad has summoned user Hyunsu, leaving him stunned as he questions how such a meeting could happen so quickly. The employee confirms that Yuanso is already on his way to the reception hall, making the team leader realize he is in for another sleepless night as he mutters that this player defies all logic and acts completely unpredictably. He wonders what will happen if Yuanso completes Barad request and maximizes their affinity, concluding that in such a case he could master the Sword King art and become the strongest blacksmith alive. He notes that it will not be easy since the outcome depends on Barad AI, yet his colleague believes Hyunso will succeed, which unsettles him as he warns her not to jinx it. The next day inside the game, Hyunso is escorted into the throne room, reflecting on how unexpected it is to meet Sword King Barad. So soon, he kneels before the king, who addresses him as stranger, explaining that normally the reward would be presented before a grand audience, but due to the incident he asks for understanding and discretion. He adds that by tomorrow everyone will recognize Hyunso's remarkable performance as a weapon master. Hyunsu suddenly rises to his feet, cutting off the king mid-sentence. He addresses Barad directly, stating that he heard the king was searching for him. The royal guards erupt in outrage, unable to tolerate such boldness. They insist that no matter his achievements, this level of arrogance cannot be overlooked and demand to know how he dares interrupt his majesty. Hyunsu remains calm, introducing himself as Blacksmith Hyunsu. The guards grow even more furious and prepare to throw him out, but Sword King Barad raises his hand, commanding them to stand down. He confirms that Hyunsu is exactly the guest he has been waiting for. Standing before him, Hyunsu faces Sword King Barad, one of the 10 legends of Aries. The king remarks that he is late, and Hyunsu replies that the journey here was nothing short of hell. Barad asks if he understands why he was summoned, and Hyunsu guesses it is to forge a sword. The king confirms this and reveals that even the kingdom's finest blacksmiths, including Tower Master Dawing, have failed the task. Because of that, he questions why Hyunsu should be trusted. Under immense pressure, Hyunsu answers that he has only one thing to offer. He has come this far relying solely on his own skill. Barad bursts into laughter, clearly impressed by the young man's boldness. Deciding to place his faith in that confidence, he orders his men to bring forth the materials. A glowing chest is placed before Hyunsu, and inside lies a piece of cold iron aged for 100 years. This rare ore has absorbed extreme cold over time, granting it both fire resistance and unique ice properties. Hyunsu stares at it, recognizing its value immediately. Sword King Barad then lays out the conditions. He wants a sword of epic grade or higher, that radiates frost. If Hyunsu succeeds and satisfies him, he will grant any wish. However, if he fails, he will be permanently banned from the Goyard kingdom. A quest window appears before Hyunsu, outlining the king's commission. The requirements are simple yet heavy. Earn the king's acknowledgement. The reward is immense, but the penalty is equally severe. Immediate expulsion. Without hesitation, Hyunsu accepts the quest, assuring the king he will not disappoint him. Later, inside the blacksmith's workshop, Hyunsu feels a piercing gaze on his back. Turning around, he sees a girl watching him intently. She is Bella, vice captain of the Goyard Kingdom's Knights, level 301. Though he understands he is an outsider, her constant observation makes him uneasy, though he knows their suspicion is justified. Bella tells him to act as if she is not there. With a faintly sarcastic smile, Hyunso asks if his discomfort is that obvious, and she bluntly confirms that it is. Internally, Bella questions what this young man is thinking. She knows that His Majesty has placed his final hope on this outsider, and she is determined that failure is not an option. The pressure begins to weigh heavily on Hyunso. Suddenly, a doorbell rings within his game interface. Confused at first, he realizes it is a notification from the real world. He logs out and opens the door to his apartment, surprised to see his landlady standing there. She explains that she has decided to sell the house because her husband has lost his job, and they need to liquidate their assets quickly. She apologizes repeatedly, but Hyunzo reassures her there is no need. He asks how much time he has, and she tells him he must move out within 2 weeks. Though she feels guilty, Hyunzo calmly says he has lived there well. After she leaves, he repeats the deadline to himself. 2 weeks. The weight of it crushes him. Even though he has earned a decent amount in Aries, his expenses are overwhelming. His father's hospital bills are in the millions, and buying back his burned workshop alone cost him 330 million. On top of that, he has not even begun his own burn treatment. Feeling completely cornered, Hyunzo wonders where he is supposed to go. Just then, his phone rings. It is Nell, who excitedly says she has come up with a brilliant idea regarding the quest. Hyunzo asks her to call back later, admitting his mind is a mess. Sensing something is wrong, Nell presses him for the truth. Hyunzo admits that while the quest is massive, he is about to lose his home in 2 weeks. Irritated, Nell reminds him how important this quest is. She explains that the internet is currently debating whether the Goya tournament champion and Blacksmith Hyunzo are the same person. She advises him to stay quiet for now, saying that when he finally reveals the truth, it will create a huge sensation. She emphasizes that he has received a commission from Sword King Barad, one of the most powerful NPCs in the game. She urges him to imagine the moment Barad unveils a new sword engraved with Hyunsu's name, saying that will be the point where his value skyrockets. That is why she is placing her trust in him. Hyunsu thanks her, admitting she has helped him regain his focus and promising to give it everything he has. He returns to the game and finds Bella angrily shouting at him. She demands to know why he has taken so long. Confused, Hyunso asks what happened. Bella delivers shocking news. Sword King Barad is trapped inside the dragon's nest. Stunned, Hyunso asks where exactly the king is trapped. Bella stares at him in disbelief, wondering how he can act surprised when he does not even know the location. Hyunso shrugs, saying he was just trying to read the situation. Bella tells him to stop joking because time is running out. She explains that Flame Nest is the general term for a region filled with fire-type monsters. Within it lies the Ifrit Dungeon, a deadly place from which no one except the king has ever returned alive. Hyunsu struggles to understand why the king would enter a dungeon he has already cleared, especially without a proper weapon. Bella reveals the truth. His Majesty's target of revenge is inside. The word revenge catches Hyunsu off guard, as he did not expect such a heavy motive from the king. The scene shifts to the Flame Nest, where Sword King Barad stands injured before the dungeon gate. He knows that beyond it lies the real battle. Even he recognizes that his current sword is insufficient for what awaits him. Though he is relieved his men escaped safely, he knows reinforcements will not arrive for at least 3 days. A bitter smile crosses his face as he wonders if he should have waited for the stranger to complete the sword. A painful memory resurfaces. He thinks of his son Ban, wishing he were still alive, realizing the boy would have been around the same age as Hyunsu. The memory takes him back to the moment his son died in his arms. Ban, bleeding on the dungeon floor, calls out to his father. Bard demands to know why he came to such a dangerous place without telling him. Ban explains that he believed conquering the dungeon would make him a son his father could be proud of. He realizes too late that he was too weak. Bard begs him not to apologize and urges him to hold on, but Ban softly says he is sorry one last time before taking his final breath. The memory fades, leaving the king holding his son's lifeless body in despair. Back in the present, Sword King Barad makes his decision. Though waiting would be safer, he cannot allow Ifrit to escape. He has waited years for this moment and is determined to finish it. With steady steps, he moves toward the blazing dungeon gate. Meanwhile, in the workshop, Bella explains the situation further. Since the prince's death, the king has tried every possible method to hunt the monster, but it has remained elusive. She adds that this may be his final opportunity. Bella admits honestly that trusting a stranger like Hyunzul is difficult for her. Bella admits that if His Majesty has placed his trust in Hyunsu, then there must be a reason. As a knight of the Goyad Kingdom, she bows her head deeply and begs him to save the king. At that moment, a new emergency quest appears before him titled, A Sword That Can Save the King. The objective is clear: accept Bella's request. The reward promises increased trust, but the penalty is absolute: the death of Sword King Barad. The mission leaves no room for doubt. He must forge a blade capable of saving him. Hyunsu reflects on the king's tragic past, recalling how he himself nearly lost everything in the flames of his own life. He wonders if he could have endured such loss. With firm resolve, he tells Bella that he is fully committed to making this sword. Without wasting time, Hyunsu begins forging. His hammer strikes the metal repeatedly before he cools it in water. He recalls the nature of the material. If its heat could melt even unique-grade weapons like butter, then he must create something that surpasses that level. He decides to focus on enhancing the special properties of the 100-year-old cold iron, aiming to amplify its unmatched qualities. As he works, a system notification appears, stating that his understanding of the ore has deepened. Another message follows, announcing that the spirit of the blacksmith has been activated. It explains that his passion, determination, and empathy have pushed him into complete immersion. He has entered a state of perfect focus. As a result, the system declares that his first legendary-grade sword is being forged. A brilliant light erupts from the workshop, forcing Bella to shield her eyes as she wonders if it is complete. When the glow fades, Hyunsu stands there holding the newly forged sword. It emits a chilling aura that instantly lowers the temperature of the room. He states that now it is time to save the king. Meanwhile, in the flame nest, Sword King Bard cries out in pain as he takes a heavy blow. Dropping to one knee, he steels himself, determined to end the battle. Before him stands the dungeon boss Efrit, level 490. Emerging through the flames, the king declares he has waited a long time for this moment and charges forward. Efrit roars as the clash begins. Though Bard withstands several attacks, the monster's overwhelming strength forces him back. He is shocked to see that Efrit wields a sword made entirely of fire. A relentless assault follows, leaving Bard exposed. Efrit unleashes a blazing storm, forcing the king into retreat while laughing mockingly. Kneeling, Bard curses his situation, believing it may be the end. As Efrit prepares to finish him with a massive flaming spear, an enormous icy blade intercepts the attack. Hyunsu and Bella arrive just in time. Bella urges the king to use the new weapon. As Bard grips the sword, a system window appears, displaying its incredible stats, overwhelming fire resistance, amplified ice-based attack power, and a significant advantage against fire monsters. It also possesses a powerful active skill called Frost Flower. Hyunsu encourages him to unleash its strength. The king raises the blade as it radiates freezing energy and activates the skill. A wave of ice surges across the battlefield, freezing Efrit's attacks instantly. The monster shrieks as the cold counters its flames. Declaring the fight over, Bard advances, his icy blade clashing against Efrit's fiery form and shattering it like glass. The demon falters, and with a decisive strike, the king delivers the final blow, destroying it completely. A system message confirms that the boss has been defeated. Exhausted, Bard finally catches his breath, but the danger is not over. As Efrit's remains begin to glow, Hyunsu questions what is happening. Bella quickly realizes the threat. Some monsters possess self-destruct abilities. The dungeon erupts in a violent explosion, engulfing everything in flames and trapping the king within the blast. Bella shouts for him to escape, but Bard orders her to stay back. Holding a locket containing his son's image, he decides to accept his fate. Though Bella wants to save him, she cannot disobey a direct command and remains frozen. At that moment, Hyunsu steps forward. Activating a flame-resistant shield, he walks directly into the inferno. The king tells him to turn back, but Hyunsu refuses, insisting he came to leave together with him. He asks if the king's decision is because of the person in the locket. Bard admits it is, blaming himself for his son's death and questioning how he can continue living. Hyunsu responds honestly, saying that while he cannot fully understand such grief, he nearly lost his own father, who now lies in a coma. He shares how he once prayed every day for his father to wake up, but now he is simply grateful that he is still alive. He tells the king that his son would feel the same. Hyunsu embraces him, urging him to let his son rest in peace. In that moment, Bard sees a vision of his smiling son and realizes his mistake. Hyunsu gently tells him that he must continue living and become a father his son would be proud of. The king nods, understanding that he cannot remain trapped in regret. With renewed resolve, he tells Hyunsu to go. Together, they escape the collapsing dungeon. Bella rushes to their side, asking if the king is safe. Hyunsu assures her he is, but before anything else can happen, a system notification appears. His HP has reached 0, and he is being forcibly logged out. He reassures Bella that players do not truly die before fading into light. Bella watches in shock as Bard collapses into her arms. The king whispers that the boy saved him before losing consciousness with a peaceful smile. Hyunsu awakens in the real world, greeted by a system message informing him that his level has dropped due to the forced logout penalty. Looking at his bandaged hands, tears fill his eyes as he promises his father that he will keep moving forward. Meanwhile, in a dreamlike state, Sword King Bard finds himself in a vast green field, face-to-face with his son Ban. The darkness fades as a voice he has longed to hear calls out to him. Ban runs toward him, smiling brightly. Bard steps forward slowly, asking if it is truly him. Ban gently confirms his presence, but explains that he has come to say one final goodbye. Hearing this, Bard's heart sinks. He clings tightly to his son, unable to accept it. Trembling, he asks what this farewell means. Ban reminds him of Hyunsu's words, expressing his wish for his father's happiness and urging him to stop blaming himself and live his life fully. As he speaks, his body begins to dissolve into light. Bard cries out, unable to stop it, until he suddenly awakens, gasping and calling his son's name. His companions, who have been watching over him for 3 days, rush to his side in shock. Regaining himself, Bard tells them his son appeared to him and that he has found peace. He declares that this miracle is thanks to Hyunsu and orders them to summon him immediately. Later, in a quiet, sunlit room, a guard announces Hyunsu's arrival. He enters, bows respectfully, and asks about the king's condition. Bard assures him that he feels better than ever and invites him to sit. Speaking seriously, he reveals that he summoned Hyunsu to discuss something important. He acknowledges that outsiders like him are immortal, capable of returning even after death. However, he insists that immortality does not erase the fear of death. Pain still hurts all the same. Looking straight at him, the king asks why Hyunsu risked his life to save him. Hyunsu answers without hesitation, explaining that he recognized the same burden and sorrow in the king's eyes that he himself carries. He genuinely wanted Bard to choose to live. The king quietly reflects on those words, repeating to himself, to be a burden. When he asks for the second reason, Hyunsu scratches his head awkwardly and admits that he was confident saving the king would bring an incredible reward. Barad's lips curve into a faint smile at that honesty, remarking that such an answer shows true courage. He agrees and declares that the reward will exceed all expectations. Barad hands Hyunsu a sealed scroll, explaining that it is the price for the remarkable sword he forged. The moment Hyunsu opens it, a blue system window appears, announcing that he has received 1 million gold. He freezes in shock, realizing the amount equals roughly 1.7 billion. It is a life-changing fortune. The king insists that since the sword truly saved him, the reward is more than justified. Hyunsu bows deeply, expressing his sincere gratitude. Barad gestures for him to sit again and speaks with a warm, fatherly tone. From now on he vows to live fully, so that when he meets Ban again, he will have no regrets. He tells Hyunsu to do the same and live strongly for his own father. The king invites him to visit the palace often, and Hyunsu eagerly agrees. Pleased, Barad tells him that he has given him new strength and asks if he may consider him a close friend. At that moment, a system message appears, announcing that Hyunsu's affinity with King Barad has reached the maximum level, granting him the friend's blessing. Realizing the significance of befriending a legend, Hyunsu grasps the king's hand and expresses how meaningful this bond is to him. To commemorate their friendship, Barad suddenly declares that he will personally teach him his swordsmanship. Knight Commander Benson immediately objects, questioning how such a priceless martial art could be given to a stranger. He reminds the king that Lord, the top-ranked successor, has already been chosen and is in training, insisting that only the worthy deserve such knowledge. The king calmly replies that he is not offering it lightly but to someone who has proven himself. A new skill quest appears before Hyunsu titled Sword King's Swordsmanship. The condition is simple: he must land 3 or more valid attacks on Commander Benson. The reward is the legendary swordsmanship itself. Babert announces that Benson will personally test him and gives Hyunsu 2 days to prepare. After logging out, Hyunsu immediately uses his reward money to pay off his father's hospital bills. With relief, he leaves his cramped apartment and moves into a better home. He thanks his former landlady for her patience and repays her generously. Once everything is settled, he calls his friend Kim Ji-hoon and invites him out to dinner. Kim Ji-hoon expects another cheap meal but is stunned when Hyunsu brings him to a luxury restaurant. Joking that he has now seen everything in life, he laughs at the situation. Hyunsu smiles and explains that he simply wanted to treat his friend properly for everything he has done. During the meal, he hands Kim Ji-hoon a gift bag containing the luxury Hermes shoes he had always wanted. Surprised, Kim Ji-hoon asks where the money came from, but Hyunsu brushes it off as a small gift. He also reveals that he has returned the money for the game capsule. Overjoyed, Kim Ji-hoon hugs the box and thanks him sincerely. Watching his friend's reaction, Hyunsu feels that his life is finally changing. When Kim Ji-hoon starts getting emotional, Hyunsu jokingly cuts him off, telling him to eat before the food gets cold. 2 days later, the test begins in the training hall. Commander Benson tells Hyunsu to draw his weapon, making it clear there will be no favoritism. Instead of pulling out a sword, Hyunsu takes out a piece of raw metal from his pouch. Calmly, he says he is ready for the challenge. Benson looks confused, but Hyunsu grins. He explains that he is not a swordsman yet. He is a blacksmith, and he will fight his own way. The metal in his hand begins to glow intensely, radiating heat that shocks everyone present. When the light fades, a simple-looking sword remains in his grip. Benson inwardly admits he expected something legendary, but instead sees what looks like nothing more than an iron stick. The commander steps forward and mocks him, asking if he truly believes he can defeat the kingdom's knight commander with such a plain weapon. But the moment their blades collide, Benson immediately senses something is wrong. Hyunsu's sword has extremely low durability. Upon impact, it shatters violently like an explosive, scattering countless fragments into the air. The shards fly like shrapnel, slipping through the gaps in Benson's armor and striking him dozens of times at once. He cries out in shock and pain as the fragments graze his skin. Though he avoids fatal damage, the result is undeniable. Calmly, Hyunsu explains that the requirement was only to land valid attacks, not to win the duel. System messages appear, confirming 59 successful hits in a single second. Hyunsu points out that the rules never prohibited this method. Stunned, Benson examines the scratches covering his armor and admits he never expected such a clever, albeit unconventional tactic. Addressing him with respect, he asks Hyunsu to reveal his true identity. Hyunsu confidently declares himself the god of blacksmiths. At that moment, Benson and the other knights bow, acknowledging him with respect. Feeling slightly awkward, Hyunsu quickly tells them to stand up. Over the next 2 weeks, he undergoes intense training under both Benson and King Barad. Through this rigorous regimen, he successfully learns the Sword King's swordsmanship. His sword-related stats increase dramatically, and thanks to his relatively low level, his growth is rapid. However, he is only able to master the first 3 techniques. The king promises that once Hyunsu grows stronger, he will teach him the remaining skills. After training concludes, Hyunsu meets with Barad once more and makes a request. He asks for more 100-year-old cold iron, the same rare material used to forge the legendary sword. The king considers it before delivering disappointing news. He would gladly give it, but the piece used for the sword was the last one in the kingdom's treasury. Disheartened, Hyunsu realizes that his future crafting plans may be in trouble. Noticing his reaction, Bard smiles and tells him not to lose hope. He reveals that more of the material can be found at its original source, the dangerous Frost Mine. He suggests that Hyunsu gather it himself. Hyunsu wonders if he can handle such a perilous place alone, but the king resolves this by assigning Bella to accompany him. She initially refuses, insisting her duty is to protect the king, but Bard assures her that this mission will help her grow stronger. Accepting the order, she prepares to travel with Hyunsu. Accepting the royal command, she prepares to travel with Hyunsu. Soon after, the king publicly announces his victory over the Efrat tomb before a crowd of players and nobles. The community is impressed, praising Sword King Bar as a true legend. Some sharp-eyed players, however, go full detective mode. They notice the magnificent sword he wields, exuding a unique, icy aura. Using their evaluation skills, they discover the name Hyunsu, engraved in small letters on the blade. This catches everyone's attention. It is the same name that appeared on the martial arts tournament winner's arrow. Players begin discussing Blacksmith Hyunsu intensely on the forums. The mystery only deepens as no one knows his age, level, or even gender. A hilarious rumor starts spreading, claiming that Hyunsu is actually a sweaty, chubby man in his 40s. Meanwhile, in the real world, our boy checks his smartphone. Thanks to King Bar's statement, his workshop's follower count has surged past 300,000. He thinks that if the truth were revealed that the tournament winner and Blacksmith Hyunsu are the same person, the internet would break. For now, he decides to keep his identity on the down low. Before setting off for the Frost Mine, Hyunsu sends a message to someone he hasn't had the chance to thank. Elsewhere, the wealthy real estate investor Kang sits in his office. He is thinking about the news that King Barad has finally cleared the Efratome. Kang always believed that dungeon was impossible for current players. He remembers his own failed attempts to enter, where all his expensive armor melted like candle wax. He laments that although he has money, he lacks the gear to fulfill his ambitions. At that moment, Kang receives an in-game message from Hyunsu.